What if I told you that the world's most beloved flavor, the symbol of comfort, love, and celebration, comes from a fruit? And not just any fruit, but a strange, lumpy pod that looks like it belongs on another planet. A fruit that, in its raw form, tastes nothing like the final product that defines it. Today, we're not really talking about chocolate bars. We're going to the source. We're going to break open the pod and discover the divine, bitter, and transformative story of cacao. Welcome to Fruits Around the World. This is a journey you won't want to miss. Our story begins in the deep, humid rainforests of Central and South America. For the ancient civilizations of the Maya and the Aztecs, this was not just a fruit, it was a gift from the gods. Its scientific name, Theobroma cacao, literally means food of the gods, and they treated it as such. The Mayans cultivated cacao thousands of years ago, but they didn't eat it in solid bars. They drank it. They would harvest the beans, ferment them, roast them, and grind them into a paste, which was then mixed with water, chili peppers, cornmeal, and spices. This was chocolato, which means bitter water. This was not a sweet, comforting hot cocoa. It was a powerful, frothy, and intensely bitter drink. It was used in sacred ceremonies, as medicine, and as a potent energy booster for warriors. In the Aztec Empire, cacao beans were considered more valuable than gold. You could literally buy goods and even pay your taxes using cacao beans. It was the original brown gold. So what is this plant? The cacao tree is fascinatingly strange. It's a small, delicate tree that grows in the shade of the rainforest canopy. But its fruit, the cacao pod, doesn't hang neatly from the branches. It bursts directly from the main trunk and the oldest, thickest branches. This phenomenon is called cauliflory, and it makes the tree look like it's covered in colorful, alien-like growths, ranging from green to yellow, red, and deep purple. But the real shock comes when you crack one open. Inside, you don't find brown, chocolatey beans. You find a bright, white, soft, fleshy pulp surrounding 30 to 50 large seeds. And here is the secret that most of the world doesn't know. You can eat this pulp. For centuries, in the countries where cacao is grown, this pulp was often seen just as a waste product, the material needed to start fermentation, or maybe a quick, refreshing snack for farmers in the field. But today, this pulp is becoming a star in its own right. It is being harvested to create refreshing juices, tangy sorbets, and even sophisticated cocktails that capture its unique tropical flavor. A flavor described as being similar to lychee, mango, or a sweet lemonade. In some regions, it's also used to make specialty jellies and jams. It's essentially a brand new culinary ingredient, a zero-waste byproduct of the chocolate industry that is now finding its own premium market. It is absolutely delicious, and it tastes nothing like chocolate. Inside that sweet pulp are the seeds. We call them beans. In their raw state, they are a light purplish color and are incredibly bitter, almost inedible, thanks to a load of defensive compounds. So how do we get from a bitter purple seed wrapped in sweet and sour pulp to a rich brown chocolate bar? The answer is not in cooking. It is in magic. Or more accurately, it is in chemistry and biology. The transformation is one of the most complex in the entire food world. It all happens after the harvest. First, the pods are cracked open. The pulp and beans are scooped out and piled into large wooden boxes or onto banana leaves. This is where the magic begins: fermentation. The white pulp, which is full of sugar, begins to ferment just like wine or beer. This fermentation process creates intense heat. This heat does two things. First, it breaks down the pulp, which drains away. Second, and most importantly, it kills the seed. This death is the birth of chocolate. the chemical compounds inside the bean are fundamentally transformed. The color changes from purple to a deep brown, and the very first faint precursor molecules of chocolate flavor are born. After fermentation, the beans are spread out on vast trays under the tropical sun to dry. They now look and smell a bit like the chocolate we know. At this point, they are stable, dry, and ready to be shipped around the world. The rest of the story is one of conquest. When the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés arrived in the Aztec Empire, he was given the bitter chocolato. He and his men famously hated it, but they saw the value the Aztecs placed on it. They took the beans back to Spain, and for nearly 100 years, they kept it a secret from the rest of Europe. But the Spanish had their own idea. They tried the bitter drink and made one world-changing edit. They added sugar. By adding sugar and heating the drink, they transformed the food of the gods into a sweet, indulgent luxury for aristocrats. The secret eventually got out, and the world went crazy for it. Today, the story has another twist. Cacao is native to the Americas, but 70% of the world's supply now comes from West Africa, in countries like Ivory Coast and Ghana. At the factory, the dried beans are roasted, which develops the flavor, and then ground into a thick paste called cocoa liquor. This liquor is then put under immense pressure, and it separates into two distinct products. Cocoa butter, this is the pure fat. It's a pale yellow silky oil used in cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and to make white chocolate. Cocoa solids, this is the dark, dry part left behind. It is ground into the cocoa powder you use for baking. Milk chocolate is a blend of cocoa solids, cocoa butter, sugar, and milk. Dark chocolate is the same, but with no milk and less sugar. And white chocolate? It's just the cocoa butter, sugar, and milk. No cocoa solids at all. From a bitter drink of warriors, to the sweet pulp of a tropical fruit, to a fermented bean, to the complex science of a chocolate bar, cacao is a story of total transformation. It is a fruit that is almost entirely unrecognizable from its final famous form. And that brings us to the big question. Now that you know the whole story, how do you feel about your favorite treat? Are you a dark chocolate purist, a milk chocolate fan, or a white chocolate lover? And here's a real test. Now that you know it's made of, does white chocolate even count as chocolate? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. If you enjoyed discovering this secret mother of chocolate, please subscribe to Fruits Around the World. We have so many more stories to share. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next journey.